Hi folks, welcome to the channel. This is Hardly Given. Now first off, yeah, it's been quite a long time since I've made any videos. That's simply a couple of reasons. One, I've been kind of working again now, lockdown's finished. Also, I've just not really had the urge to make videos. I've not really been playing anything that I wanted to share with you guys, but I've recently bought the Aliens Fireteam Elite, and I thought I'd give you guys a little kind of review and explanation of the game, the classes. Basically, if you're just interested and maybe you've seen some videos and you want to buy it or you're interested in buying it, this is just kind of me just showing you what you get. Now, I have pretty much completed everything that's available right now. What I mean by that though is I haven't completed things like the extreme difficulty missions. I've pretty much done most of the intense. I haven't finished it yet, but I've done most of the intense missions, and I've completely finished the standard. I've got all of my classes maxed out. I've got all but one weapon maxed out. I've got that last weapon as well. I'm just currently leveling it. So I'd like to think I've got a pretty good grasp on what this game is. So without further ado, this is the game that you can see on my screen. Now, another little disclaimer, I am using a mod that changes my field of view a little bit. Your field of view naturally is quite narrow. I've downloaded the mod of Nexus Mods. That's all it changes is the field of view, and there's some graphical options to make the game look a little bit nicer. You can get other mods already that change certain other aspects. You can make your bots better. You get bots if you play solo. Basically, your team will always be free strong. If you don't have another player in one of those slots, it'll be filled with a bot. And you can make your bots a little bit better. Basically, they will react faster, they'll be able to shoot further. They're not overpowered, but they become useful for doing stuff like higher level difficulties. So yeah, without further ado, this is the kind of home area where you start in. You start in here. I don't sit in here because you have weird background noises, which you can hear. But you've got all these people you can talk to. When you've gathered intel for the missions, basically drops that you find, you can come and speak to them and unlock new kind of storylines. You can't do any new missions, but you gain intel. You can read up on the game history. And this is the only kind of NPC that you can interact with at all times. This is a shop, basically. You can buy stuff here. So you can buy all your weapons. No, not all your weapons. You can buy a bunch of weapons here. Some attachments. You don't need all of these. I bought all of them just because I had everything else done. You can buy these perks, which are really nice. These are specific perks for classes, which I'll tell you guys about in 2 seconds. And then you get these universal perks. I'd recommend picking up these as quick as possible. These can be used in all classes at all times, so you may as well get them. And then the last one is consumables. You can only take a limited number of consumables with you on missions, and you can buy them here, or you can pick them up during missions from loot crates that you find dotted around the map. Of these, there's only a couple that I would say are really handy. Like the turrets here, the hardened incendiary turret is really handy. The cryo grid is really handy. I also really like the vulnerability drone. It's basically, it doesn't last for too long, but it gives you a boost to your damage, which is quite nice at higher levels. So that's the shop there. You can also buy cosmetic items, so you can buy different outfits here. So you can get different looks for your guys here. You can get all your hats and the headgear. They do seem to be lacking. I've got one left to buy here. They do seem to be kind of lacking cosmetics. They don't have too many available right now, but that will change. And then all your colours, again, I bought most of them here. Still got a couple to get here. But you will also pick up pretty much all of this. You'll have a chance to pick up all of this whilst playing the game as well. So you don't need to spend anything here. This is not real game money, real world money either. This is money you gain in game from doing missions and stuff. You also got decals, which you can put onto your weapons, which is really nice. I'll show you guys a little trick with that in 2 seconds. Some emotes, which at the moment, especially if you're on PC, unless you're playing on like a group that you get from Discord, your emotes are pretty much the best way for your communication. There's no in-game communication, there's no chat, there's no text, and that's something I hope they address in the future, because people on like Xboxes and PS5s, I believe, can chat but using their in-game systems, or if you're on Steam, nothing. We've got no way to talk to people. And then lastly, you have challenge cards, which you can buy here, but you can also get in-game, and again, I'll explain them in 2 seconds. So you start off with the ability to get 4 classes. You get Gunner, Demolisher, Technician, and Doc. Once you've finished the campaign on Standard, the whole way through, you will get access to the Recon kit. Now, I worked my way down here, just working. I'm going to get rid of these flash and stuff like that. There you go. Now, I worked my way down. So I started Gunner, Demolisher, then Technician, then Doc. Then I did Recon at the end. And what the classes do, they do fit a bit of a role, right? So the Gunner class is your kind of standard Gunner, the mainstream of the kind of squads. And their abilities are Overclock, greatly increased fire rate. You can also buff this to be you get a fast reload. You can buff it so that your team also gets faster reload and stuff. And Overclock is generally regarded as the best team buff available. A couple of the other classes get something similar, like the Doc, but it's just nowhere near as good. The Gunner Overclock is by far at the moment the best team buff. With this, you can chew down, high level enemies in seconds. So especially when it comes to like intense or extreme difficulties, it's pretty much a must-have in your squad. They also get access to grenade. I've added this to have a remote detonator. I don't know if you guys remember my Division videos. This reminds me quite a lot of the was it Tactician, wasn't it, with the sticky bomb. It's a similar kind of thing. You don't shoot this, you still throw it, but it's a similar kind of mentality I quite like. And then when it comes to your weapons, you can change your weapon out. You can buy these, you can find these in missions. This is, I believe, all the primary weapons you can have access to right now. And you can see I have leveled them all up to max level so far. And you can put on any one of them and change it however you want. So each weapon you get free access to 3 different attachments. Again, these you can buy in the shop or you can farm out and about. I'm not going to be going through the best setup for each weapon because ultimately that's your decision, what you like to play with. I really like this ballista. I've got it in a bunch of my classes because going back into the Division with like my Hunter's Faith builds and all that, I can generally hit headshots quite effectively. So with this gun, it's a very effective setup. And then that's your Gunner class. Going on to Demolisher. Demolisher is your heavy weapon specialist. Does a lot of crowd control, does a lot of area effect damage, which does mean that, again, going into when you play in Standard, you don't do any friendly fire. When you go into Intense, you do a little bit. When you go into Extreme, you do a lot. And then I think, or is it Insane, you do 100%. So 100% your weapon damage. So, for instance, if I hit someone with this gun with 2,250 damage, I would instantly kill them and me and probably the entire squad. So that's one of the reasons why I don't do high level difficulties, just because I would end up killing everyone in the squad. Because that's what I would do. The gunner gets access to 2 abilities. It gets an ability to over the shoulder rocket launcher, which is really fun, and clear the room, which is a passive. It also gets blast wave. Now there's quite a lot of builds going about there which heavily stacking the blast wave. I haven't. If an enemy gets that close to me, I would say that having blast wave is handy, but buffing it out max is just not something that I'd want to be doing. I don't want enemies to get that close to me. It's a simple fact. So the heavy does get access to the big heavy weapons, obviously, so it gets access to things like Smart Gun, which is made very famous in the movie. It also gets a bunch of grenade launchers. You've got Impact Grenade Launcher, which is really nice. You have the Rocket Launcher, which is really nice. You have the Grenade Launcher here, which is awful. I really hate this Grenade Launcher. It's not an impact grenade, so your grenades will bounce, and they will bounce off enemies sometimes. Not all the time. They will bounce off enemies and go, and sometimes come back at you. So yeah, that's an awful gun. I hate that one. And then obviously the Flamer. Now, the Flamer is both an incredibly fun gun to use, but also an incredibly dangerous gun to use. I would say if you are unsure of the Flamer or you're new to it, do not use this in anything above Standard. Your teammates will generally not like you. You will be causing way too much friendly fire. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. And in Standard, especially if you're running solo, it's great fun. The only problem with it, even if you're running with a team in Standard, they generally can't see what the hell they're doing because there's so much flames going everywhere. So yeah, it's a good gun. It's a lot of fun, but you just have to kind of be careful with it. I'm using this one, as I said, right now. It's very, very strong, but just don't use it in anything above standard because you will kill yourself. Now, what I was going to show you a little trick with. So you got all your colours here, all of them here, and then what you can do with the decals. And I don't know if many people know this. You can change the size of them by using your middle mouse button. Actually, it does show you the things down here, but you can change the angle. You can change the size, and this is on everything, so you can make some really nice, kind of unique looks to your weapons, which might not be available. Like, so I could do that. Like, it's not a big change, but it's a change. Oh, what did I have it as? It's something like that, didn't I? Yeah. But not everyone knows that you can do that. You can change the size and rotation, so you can make some really unique looking weapons. And you can get some silly colours as well. You can get like pink, and you can get chromatic here, which is makes your gun all that, and then you can get things like that, which makes your gun shiny purple. And yeah, there's a lot of silly colours, but it's at the moment I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more options to kind of customise some things, but as is pretty good fun. So that is a Demolisher. Moving on to the Technician. The Technician class is more about support. So the Technician class comes with the Sentry Turret, which is both very strong and very weak. So it's very strong because if you get it to a good position, it can really do a lot of damage, but it seems to be a little bit bugged. I'm sure it is. It doesn't seem to fire half the time, and in other times it's constantly firing. So it's a bit weird. Yeah, I think it's a little bit bugged. What I would recommend though, guys, don't fall into the trap of immediately jumping to the incendiary turret. I actually quite like the standard turret, just maxed out the damage, and it's actually quite effective. The reason I like it is because it has a higher damage upkeep. The incendiary turret can do a lot of damage at short range, but with this, I'm shooting much longer. So in my mindset, it does more damage overall. And the reason I said it's very weak is even just in intense level missions, it'll get one shot. So even if you increase its health, even if you're standing next to it and stuff like that, the enemies will run straight to it, they'll hit it, and it'll die. So yeah, it's both very strong but also very weak. It's another thing I hope the developers have a wee look at. I'd like to see him fix the kind of fire rate, and also maybe have a shield on it or something like that, so it can actually take a little bit of damage without it blowing up. You can get perks where it heals slightly when you're next to it, but there's no point. If you're playing Technician, guys, and your turret's damaged, just pick it up and put it back down. It takes literally about half a second for it to like go through the motion of you picking it up and putting it back down. It'll go back down at full health. There's no point in standing next to it waiting for it to recover health. The Technician also gets access to charged coils, which is a crowd control area effect ability. You get 3 of them at a time. And these can be really helpful actually, because you can really buff the damage for your team, because you can get stuff like you do more damage to slowed enemies, and most enemies should be slowed because of this, and then you're doing more damage to pretty much everything on the map. So yeah, charge calls is really nice. And then lastly, you've got cross-platform synergy. Now this is the only passive like this, and what this does is allies standing near your turret take less damage. When you stand near your turret, it regenerates health. Now, as I said, regeneration doesn't matter, but the less damage is actually really nice, and you can buff that further in your perks tree, which again I'll show you in 2 seconds. So yeah, the Technician, as I said, and another thing with the Technician is it only gets access to kind of short range weaponry. So it comes with a pistol. Of these pistols, I would kind of recommend like the kind of high power single shot. Most people go for the Magnum. I actually quite like the combat pistol because of its increased rate of fire. I'd rather put 2 shots into something and then have lots of more ammo left over to shoot other things than 1 shot into something and then have like 5 shots left, which is what the Magnum has. But again, this is personal choice. Play it how you want. And then it also gets access to close combat weapons. So each of the weapons are split up into kind of groups. So the close combat weapons are things like your shotguns, your SMGs, and you've got a little handheld flamer here, which is actually really nice. I really like using that. As it is, why I'm leveling this. This is a new one, and apparently this with Gunner is absolutely brutal. So I'm quite looking forward to getting that max level. When it comes to leveling, at the moment max level is 4. You don't really get many extra perks per level. It's like 5% extra fire rate or 5% extra stability. You don't really get much, but when you get to level 4 perk, it's usually something quite nice. One in particular that is really nice when you get to level 4 is the rocket launcher. When you get the rocket launcher to level 4, you get this one down here, 20% chance on kill to release a secondary cluster explosion. That plus things like the phosphorus munitions, the Miller twist rifling, can really make that weapon really nice at area of effect. And the thing is with that is it's area of effect anywhere on the map because it's long range rather than like things like the flamer, which is short range. So that's the technician, guys, and we're going to move down to the dock. Now the dock is a controversial, shall we say, build right now, in that it doesn't really work. It comes with a healing station. It might say a suppression station because I've put a mod on it to change it, but it does come with a healing station. But you only get a finite amount of resources per mission, which are regenerated when you pick up a med pack. But if you're using the healing station, no one in your team needs med packs. And if you already have one med pack, you can't pick up another med pack. So you basically, it's to the point where a lot of medics don't use the healing station until maybe the last couple of minutes of the mission, like when the waves are hitting you hardest, which I think is a pretty bad way to kind of build a thing where for 95% of the playtime you can't use your ability. I hope it's the first one they look at. I hope it's the first one they fix. But as it is right now, it's just not that useful. What the medic does work well with, though, is combat stims. Now, I did say to you earlier, the combat stims, the medic one, is not as good as the gunner. But what it does do is increase movement speed. And the reason that is really handy is you can buff that quite a lot, and you can have speed builds, where you can vastly increase the movement speed of yourself and your team. Now, when you're playing solo, your bots will always keep up with you. They will sometimes have to teleport distances to get to you, but they will always keep up with you. So you can do speed builds with this. So this might be how you level things in the future. You can put a new weapon onto this, speed run 5 missions in the same amount of time as it takes someone to do one of the end missions and get more XP. You do have to finish the missions, so you had to be, pretty sharp on kind of killing enemies. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm sitting at with my dock. I've set it up for being a speed builder, basically. Which is a bit of a shame. It's not meant to be that. It's meant to be a healer, but it's just not right now. I want them to make up basically something like the Reclaimer. Something like that I think would be both really useful and also like practical. It would have to be a case where you have to really build into the health station for it to be that good, which would obviously diminish things elsewhere. But that's what I like. I like having it where you can completely focus on something, but you're punished in other areas. But yeah, as it is, guys, don't bother too much with the dock. It's just not as good as the other classes. It also gets field medic for each nib. This is another thing that's actually really good with the dock. Your ability to recharge speed is increased by 15%. Now, that you can have with a buff, you can actually have that added to your squad. So if your squad are near you, they also get a 15% extra ability to recharge speed. I think it actually goes from 15 to 30 if both the guys are right next to you. So yeah, that's actually something that's actually really nice. But the thing with the way this game works is most of the missions end up with like enemies attacking you from various directions. So you can't be all together. You have to be split, covered in different lanes. So it's a little bit of one of those kinds that's counterproductive. But it is actually kind of helpful, especially with your bots. If your bots will generally always stay close to you, and you can get really fast recharge ability speeds doing it that way. So that's the dot class there, guys. Now the last one you get, the Recon, as I said, you don't get this until you've completed the standard campaign. The Recon class is kind of like your scout, and again, it's just not very good right now. It comes with 2 abilities. It comes with the Pups ability. Now, my big problem with the Pups ability, because the Pups ability actually is quite strong. My problem with it, though, is it completely tanks my FPS. And a lot of people online have been saying the same thing. I can be on a map with flamers and bombs going off and grenades and acid spitters and everything, and my FPS stays completely stable the entire time. Second, somebody casts Pups, my FPS tanks, and I'm not talking about like a couple. I mean, I set it at 60, right? Because I've got it at 60 FPS. Because I'm playing a 1440p at pretty much max settings with a higher field of view. 60 FPS is fine for me, and I can see it that 100% of the time. Somebody casts Pups, I go down to 30. I don't know. But the Pups does actually have access to some really nice things where, for instance, it can slow basically all enemies on the map, and all enemies that are seen by it take extra damage. So that is actually really handy if you build into Pups, which I'd actually recommend you do. Yeah. Okay, so the Recon isn't useless, but it's not as good as, let's say, the Demolisher or the Gunner. It also gets access to the support drone, which sits basically on the ground and is okay. You can buff it so like allies within the radius of it take less damage, which is kind of handy. You can also, if you kill enemies whilst you're inside the radius of it, you get a small amount of health back, but it's such a small amount of health that it's just not worth it, right? It's just not worth it. It's like 10 health, and you have 1500 health, so it's just not worth it. But what it also does do is it drops ammo, which is actually really helpful. Especially in the high difficulties where the enemies do become kind of bullet sponges, the ability to continuously spawn ammo can really help prolong the damage duration, the damage output of a squad. But I wouldn't build into the support drone, to be honest. I'd build into your Pups. So that's all the classes, guys. So what we're going to do, have a quick look at the different weapons. So we're going to go to inventory. Now you've got 4 types of weapons. You've got rifle weapons. Now these include things like your burst fire weapons, so the grouper and the burst rifle here are burst fire weapons. You have your sniper rifles, so you got your big sniper rifle here. You got a Twilight, which is generally considered one of the best weapons in the game. And then you got like the blister, which I really like. You have the pulse rifle, which is what you see in the movies, which everybody loves. You got these kind of things like halberd, which isn't very good. And a scout rifle, which I really liked until I got the blister. And then the Kramer, which everybody says is one of the best again. I don't really like it that much. It's basically a high damage, slow fire kind of gun. Think of, if you guys play PlanetSide 2, think of the NC. Think of basically the NC weapons. Maybe that's why I don't like it, because I don't like NC. Nothing against the faction, I just don't like their weapons. So that's the rifles, guys. You go into close combat weapons. So again, as I said, that's basically shotguns, flamers, that kind of stuff, SMGs. You have the handguns, which is some nice stuff actually. Like the rapid responder here, it's a handheld shotgun. It's actually really nice. Actually, I quite like that. Or the auto pistol, which I use in some of my builds. Again, that can do a lot of damage in a very short amount of time. So it's actually quite handy if you're about to get overrun, just to pull that out and kind of waste everything nearby you. And then you got your heavies, which is what I showed you earlier. You got your flamers, your rocket launchers and stuff like that, and then your grenade launchers. I said all of these are actually really good, bar that one that's got bounce grenades. Yeah, that one there. That's awful. I don't think once I used that for about one mission, I don't think I used it again. I ran mission after mission after mission with the man Demolisher and only used my rifle because I just basically refused to use that. It's really not good. So that's it, guys. That's the weapons. So when it comes to your grid system, now the grid system is something you've probably seen online. It's this here. Now, think of it as like a modern kind of thing that you can use. You can buff your abilities, so you've got your abilities at the side here, and then you have your passive at the bottom. And you get all these abilities. Some you'll have just as you level up. Some you'll get from the shop if you want, and others you'll find in crates. Some abilities you cannot get unless you find them in missions. And generally speaking, you can only find them in intense and above level missions. So you have all these here. Now, once you've unlocked them all for your classes, you can often use universal perks on all classes. So like I can use technician perks on my gunner. I can use doc perks on my gunner. But there are some that are locked to specific classes. So a lot of these will be gunner only, gunner only kind of things. So again, some of these will be locked behind certain progression. Some you won't get unless you do like horde mode up to like level 20 odd. So I'm not going to go through my builds, guys. This is something that other YouTubers have covered. And also, it's a good thing to just kind of do it yourself. By all means, you can copy my gunner build if you want. What I do actually, I'll quickly go through it and I'll show you, but I'm not going to go through what they are because I'm not going to make this video 4 hours long. So this is my gunner build right now. This is my demolisher build. You will be able to kind of see this and check it out and compare it to what you've got. My technician build. My dock build, which as I said I built for speed. And then my Recon build, which I built, as I said, heavily into pups. But basically, as you can see, each of these takes up a set amount of these spaces. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you have to basically find out the best way to make things work. Now, some of these mods can have extra mods added to them. So as you can see, these are connected up here. However, some don't have connections. So this is a universal mod that I can add and take away. But if, say, for instance, if I was to take this away, that would also take that away because that needs that connection. To see what's available, to see what's compatible, you basically just press R, and it will show you here when it's highlighted like that what I could potentially add to that. So if I wanted to, I could take that one away, and I could put on another 2 there. And these each have different sizes. So you've got 2, you've got 5, you've got 3, you've got 2 there. And it's basically just about trying to find the most efficient use of the space available to you. That might mean that you have to do stuff kind of like that to get the exact ones you want. You can also press D to change the angle. So I can do that to press D. All this is down at the bottom, but I admit I didn't see it for a long time. So D will change the rotation, which can be really handy to make the build look nice. I like making, as you can see, I quite like my things to look good. But also it can be really handy to just to get the builds that you want. So that's the grid system, guys. It's quite simple. It's quite understandable. You also have this combat rating down here. The only thing with a combat rating is if you join a mission, people might kick you if you haven't got a certain combat rating, even if your build is really strong. I've been kicked from groups because I've been leveling something, and because I'm leveling something's like class is 0 combat strength, my being like 650, and I've been kicked even though my build is strong, my primary weapon is strong, I've got all my consumables, I've got a lot of hours in this game. People will still kick you because they're idiots. Yeah. But that's just going to happen, guys. So that's basically it, guys. So you've got your builds, I've gone through the builds, you've got weapons, and that, I've gone through the shop. You have access to 4 different campaigns, plus the horde mode. I say you've got 4 campaigns, you've got 3 missions each campaign. Oh, let me go out there. So you've got 3 missions each campaign. Each one does have a recommended combat rating. And you can change intensity here. You can change whether or not you want challenge cards, which I haven't showed you that. And you can even do it if you want to go solo if you want. So you've got 4 of these plus horde modes, which again you can change difficulty. You don't get access to challenge cards in hard mode, and you can do that solo as well if you want. Wouldn't recommend it. I'd always recommend trying to have someone with you. It makes things handy. And you get dailies as well. So you get 2 normal dailies and 1 weekly daily. As you can see, I've done all mine. It's generally stuff like kill people, kill a certain enemy, or finish a mission on a certain map. It can sometimes mean that you can do all 3 in 1 mission. It's a bit silly at times, but yeah. I don't know about these. It seems to be a bit of an afterthought because you don't really get much either. You get like a little bit of money and a little bit of rep resource which you can use to buy cosmetics. Got to show you the challenge cards as well. So when you start on a mission, you can put on a challenge card. Now some of these give you only credits, money. Some of these give you only XP. Some will give you a bit of both. Some will just actually give you no benefits. Sorry, no money. But will give you benefits. So they will give you, say for instance, ammo hoarder, magazine size and ammo maximum ammo count are doubled for your weapons. That, I will add, is absolutely brutal when running things like the Demolisher with a smart gun. You can basically, you don't reload and you never need to pick up ammo. But you also get negative ones where you're coming out the damn walls. A xenomorph drone will spawn shortly after beginning mission, at which point there will always be an active drone. But if you complete the mission, you get 2.5 times XP. There'll be ones like this one here. This is a joke. This is an absolute joke of a card. I don't think, like, everyone looks at this one and goes, what the hell? You must not take any damage for the entire mission. Considering virtually all the enemies you kill do some form of AoE damage when they die, it's an absolute nightmare. I've never even tried this card. I'm sure someone has managed it, but I haven't managed it. There's other ones as well. Your weapon deals more damage, but you don't get any extra rewards. You get speedrun here. These are ones I've been using with my dock. And they are coloured, so you get blue, green, and purple. I'm not really sure what the difference is. I mean, your primary and secondary weapons are disabled, so you only get your handgun. That's the way you get 2 weapons you can choose. You get your primary and you get your secondary, and then you always get access to a handgun that apparently I think has unlimited ammo. Let me have a wee check. Yes, your handgun has unlimited ammo, but it's weak and it's not accurate, but it is always there if you need it. But yeah, these can make things actually really fun. There's one that I really like using actually. I want them to actually take the challenge card out of the game and actually have it as an option, is just to remove your HUD. You completely lose all your HUD. You have to, like, when you can't see your health, you can't see your ammo. And I actually really like doing that. I really like, especially with like a rifle and you can like shoot people like down range. It feels good because you're still hitting things and you don't have anything to aim with. But you can get ones that I switch change the games, which tactical cam. You can also get one that makes it black and white. So yeah, the challenge cards actually I do quite enjoy putting them on. They can make the game really interesting. There do seem to be a lot though, as you can see. Each one of these is different, and then I've got ×3, ×6, ×7, ×6. So it is going to end up with like people going to have like hundreds of thousands of resources just sitting about doing nothing. That's what I really want them to add, like an option to sell stuff in. So that's it, guys. That is I'm not going to say a quick run through the video of the game, but that is a pretty thorough run through of all the builds, your inventories, all the weapons. So yeah, it's a good fun game. Can be frustrating at times, but overall they've done a really good job. They have specified that this is essentially only the base game, and DLCs will come out free. That as long as you buy the base game, all DLCs afterwards will be free. Any updates, patches, and that they do seem to be quite active. This is definitely not an Outriders debacle. So yeah, I would actually really recommend this game, guys, especially if you're a fan of the Alien franchise. Go for it. Anyway, guys, again, apologies for being a long time. I might make a few more videos, but I might do some gameplay with this. Maybe do a bit more in depth with my builds. Who knows? Just have to see how I feel. But yeah, thanks for joining me. Thanks for watching if you got this far, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everyone.